What we're doing today is we're going to convert a wood stove that my father had made 35 years ago, and he had inserted a water jacket in it which linked into the house. It had an oil-fired water boiler in it, and he had water radiators running throughout the house. So we had built this stove, and this was all handmade out of 1/4-inch plate, steel plate. And there's the door. But yeah, so what I'm trying to do actually, converting it from a wood stove and water boiler into something that I can use for making maple syrup. Now, what I've got here is a six burner industrial propane stove that a friend of mine at work who had a short stint in the chip wagon business took that out, and he wasn't able to get rid of it, so I thought I could put it to good use. And I've used it 2 or 3 years in a row. I made this custom boiler pan, what you see here, with a spout on it for getting the syrup out, and it just fits the surface of this stove. So it's good, I like it, it's convenient, it's easy. Got a couple of limitations. One is, if you turn all those burners on, it draws so much propane that it actually starts freezing the bottle. So the bottle's freezing is one limitation. The other limitation of this is that if I try to use six burners, I don't get enough flame out of any of them. So I turn a couple off, I get 4 burning pretty good. But even with 4, if I fill this thing up with sap, try to boil that, it never really comes to a solid boil. It gets close, it steams, and it takes a long time to get the top of that syrup to boil down. And what's I'm hoping then, if this thing, I get this entire hot surface here with wood in it, see if it'll, I'm going to experiment here in a while and see if I can get a fire going in this, but still got a lot of work to do yet, and that's what mainly what we're talking about here. So these are parts of the boiler that used to be in here. These used to stick out this back. A couple of holes here where the boiler came out, and these connected in, and then the water pipes in the house used to connect up to these pipes. So I took the boiler out. That is a water jacket. That used to be inside the stove, supported up near the top. So the flame would come up, hit that, the water would circulate through here and back into the house. And it was a pump ran all the time, and it ran in parallel with the existing oil-fired boiler. I thought it was a great system, but I don't have that in my house. And when the whole stove was disconnected and taken out of the house, and obviously it wasn't drained properly, because I can see that there's a crack in the water jacket there, another crack right there. So it obviously had a little bit. This must have been down. Water settled in here and then it froze. So it's no good anyway, and it would be very difficult to repair those. You can't get in there and weld. You pretty much have to cut this all off and make a bunch of U-joints there. No choice but to cut these off enough that I could pull it into the body of the stove and let it drop down, twist and turn and get it out. So that's the background. So the first thing I did was I realized that the pan doesn't fit on here unless I take this away. So this is where the stovepipe came out. So I came out here the other night with the grinder and chisel, and ground the welds around here, chiseled my way around. It took me an hour and a half to get that thing off of there. Not easy to break a billy stick weld. Yeah, so my plan is to move that from there, take this off of there, and put it in the back. And that will give me a full flat top for a boiler. So anyway, today's October the 4th, and a long time away from sap season, but what I need to do is get this thing converted and fill this thing up mostly just with water. Get a fire going in there and see how it works. I mean, this my whole my whole plan may be all for nothing if it doesn't really work all that well. I think it's going to work pretty good, but it is an experiment. That's easy enough. Alright. I've already got the ring. I've taken it from there and I put it there. In fact, I think when I start, another buddy at work suggested I could just leave this open, and I think that's actually not a bad idea. I'll have direct open flame onto the bottom of my boiler pan. So I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm just going to use a nail here and scribe on the steel. Alright. So there's my scribe line. So the stove is 16 and a half wide. So I've got a mark here at 8 1/4 in the center. We want a 6-inch hole over all. And I'm going to leave an 1.5 inch relief at the top. So 1.5 inches plus half of 6 is 3, so 4.5 inches down, right there. So that's the center of our hole we want to cut. I'm going to mark it with an auto punch first. And then I'll put a deeper mark in it with the hammer and the punch. Give it a couple of good whacks with this punch and the hammer. Get a good mark in there. Rotate the torch. That part's easy to understand. See how we got here. That's what it's going to be. So the other thing I intend to do here is I'm going to put a set of 2 swivel casters and 2 straight casters on the bottom of these legs, mainly for easy maneuverability. The other thing to do is we'll lift it up a little bit, give me 4 or 5 inch, get it 4 or 5 inches higher off the ground, which is better for me. So I've gone ahead and I have this steel plate, and I've marked and scribed out the casters here, lined up the holes, gone ahead and drilled them. So I need to cut those. I'll do that with a hacksaw. I've got a power hacksaw I can use to cut those off with. But this is similar steel, and since I've never done any torch cutting before, we'll start and just see if we can, hate to wreck this, but see if we can just cut a piece off the end of there. See how that goes before I start trying to cut in. This is 1/4 inch plate, and this is it's about 1/8 inch plate. Half the thickness, but I don't think it's all that much different. Well, not as easy as I thought, but not all that hard either. So, there goes nothing. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Stand on the mark. Don't let it come off. So this shot here shows some of the progression I've made with the stove. So first of all, we've got this set of swiveling casters on the front. The stove will end up getting backed in this way. So I'll have non-castering wheels at the back and at the front. So get these, set those on there. Let's set the long piece goes this way, and then you can see that the holes here expose the 2.5-inch steel pipe that's underneath. And what I'll do is what's called a rosette weld, or I will, the oxyacetylene will penetrate through these holes, and I'll be able to stick a bead on that 2.5-inch pipe, and then weld it and fill it in, and then I'll finish welding it down here. Parent metal on this 2.5-inch tube here to start to puddle up and heat up to start to puddle so that I can attach a bead to it. This is a large torch head, but even with this fairly heavy steel for welding with a torch. I don't have a stick welder. If I had a stick welder, I'd use it. That's a better picture. There's the new hole in the end. The original hole on the top. I still got to fill these two holes in. I think I'll just put two or three large washers in a nut for all I'm trying to do. Got the stove set up here for a trial. See how well this thing will, or see if it'll bring this pan to a boil. Well, I'm a solid hour in. It's steaming well, but that temperature gauge shows up. It's still under 200 degrees. So it's not boiling. And we're definitely past an hour. So we tried boiling water in this syrup pan on this flat top twice. Once with just the open stove, and once with I added this grill deflector in there, and it didn't work. So you can see these outlines here. I'm going to end up cutting two large almost square holes in the top. I'm going to leave a strip in the center for support for the pan. I had a lot of trouble getting that cutting torch, that old cutting torch to work. I did manage to get this whole side cut out and the other hole, but I don't know, it plugged up somehow and I couldn't get it to keep cutting, so I've switched to using my DeWalt jigsaw and some hacksaw blades and extra oil and water to keep it cool. So half an inch to go. I might as well break that off. If I don't, I might lose the saw blade. Okay. So there we have it. Good stuff. Alright, one stove top cut out. Latest developments on this wood stove conversion. So basically what I've done is I've cut the tops out. The pieces that I cut out here, you can see this piece of steel here is actually the piece that used to be in here. And underneath these bricks, fire bricks, is a bunch of sand. But I don't just have the sand itself. Down underneath here is the other piece of steel. This is the original piece of steel that used to sit here with the original flue hole in it. So I just left that in there. And what that steel does is it braces this piece of steel from being able to, it can't fall backwards, and everything is being held from going this way by that bracket. So that's what I've done. Alright, so there we have it. And now I'll just fill in some more sand. Fill in the gaps. This is the final hurrah here.
60, 70, 89, right.
I'm here with Tom, checking out the new the wood evaporator modified. Got a good fire going in here. Yeah, so that's a good boil. So that's gonna. What I'm hoping is that this will save me some time. So I made a lot of mods to this stove, and anyway, finally it's paying off.
Oh.
Yep, it's really boiling now. Makes the beer taste good.